what's up, good people? This is your guy, JD, so let's get captivated.
And this is your girl, Erica J, and we're going to accumulate, and together we will
All prosper.
prosper.
What's good, Eric?
I'm excited. This week has been a great week. Voting has started for the C.A.P Podcast of the Year with the Memphis Elegance Awards.
For all our listeners and viewers out there, we definitely need you all to vote. If we've ever impacted you, you enjoy the content that we put out, give us a vote. We greatly appreciate that. So, yeah, that's in September this year.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. So we got a couple buzz topics before we get off with our esteemed guest that we have today. First buzz topic is Tyrese Haliburton's father and Giannis, who plays for the Bucks, got into it Tuesday during the playoffs. What is your take on that? I give you mine.
Okay, so John Haliburton gets on the floor. He, as they say in a sense, insults Giannis, and so I do understand he can no longer be on the floor, but it has given up quite an uproar, even with Shaq's comments coming into play.
Yeah.
Of he feel like it was Giannis' fault because he should have never said anything to him. I even heard a discussion between Shaq and Charles Barkley, where Charles Barkley is saying, no, he should have never been on the floor. Shaq is saying he's always been on the floor, after the game. So it has been like really crazy. But now he has been officially banned from being on the floor.
No, well, he's been banned from attending the games because, yeah, it's not just being on the floor, but attending the games of his son. I caught the tail end of that playoff game, and what his dad did wasn't cool. I mean, your son just hit a game-winning shot. You take away all that attention because you want to taunt somebody of the opposing team. And Giannis, that could have went a whole different direction. He restrained himself. But I mean, Giannis is a big guy, but you don't do that to anybody that that's a competitor,
right?
And so it was unfortunate. And Tyrese Haliburton did apologize for his father's action, but the Indiana Pacers did take disciplinary actions where he cannot attend any more games at home or on the road until they deem either they lift it. They didn't say if it was indefinitely or whatnot. But, yeah, what he did wasn't cool. He did a formal apology, but that's not how you do that,
Right.
So, and Shaq, even though I like Shaq, sometimes he don't like to be corrected. He know that wasn't, regardless of whether that guy's dad get on the floor or not, you don't taunt the opposing team that just lost. You don't do that. Athletes are human beings just like anybody else. That's not something cool to do. So, it is what it is. They're facing the Cleveland Cavaliers starting tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll he going to watch his son play from a TV like other folks because he won't be able to go to no arena, whether it's at home at the Pacers or when they're on the road. Because of his actions.
That's very unfortunate, not being able to support your son anymore for that matter because of your own actions. So,
yeah.
Very unfortunate.
And the other buzz topic, this has been something that's been going on social media for the past week or so. There's been a discussion about a silverback gorilla versus 100 man. I'm going to go ahead and give you my take on this. Like, It's crazy because I don't know who came up with this theory or this discussion. I have an idea. I'm not going to say who probably came up with this because they always think they're running something. But when you look at a silverback gorilla, that's nothing but fur and muscle.
Right.
Fur and muscle, and they don't even eat meat. They eat vegetation, but they're strong as I don't know what, and all I can say, if you the first 10 or 15 guys, you sacrifice. You finna be a sacrificial lamb.
Exactly.
But that's wild to think. And this is 100 guys with no weapons. We're talking about just fists. You coming at this silverback gorilla can be, I think they said can be up to like 6 to 7 feet. tall, but they can weigh up to like 500-600 pounds, but they can bench press 2,000 to 3,000 pounds.
See,
and so there's no human being that can bench press that amount. And so
no.
that discussion is like I wouldn't put my money on the 100 guys, because at least 50 of them are gonna meet the Grim Reaper, because all that gorilla is going. He's gonna be breaking stuff. He's gonna be pulling. I mean, it's just what it is. But
it's no restraint. And the thing that's like crazy, because I know sometimes people are looking at, if you got 100 men, there's force in numbers or whatever, and they can try to overpower him. But like you said, the first 15, 20 at least, you're going to have some problems. Somebody's going to come out hurt.
Yeah, it's
and
going to be more than hurt.
Feeling dead.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, so I guess it's safe to assume that you wouldn't be a part of the 100.
Man, no, I wouldn't be a part of the 100. I see the first, if I wouldn't be there, but say I was there, after I see what happened to the first shoe, I'm going the other direction. But I wouldn't be, I'm not, like I said, I got kind of an idea who may came up with that type of nonsense. But silverback gorilla is nothing to play with. They're one of the strongest animals on earth. And they're smart too. They're not, a lot of people try to, make derogatory remarks when they come to gorillas, and gorillas are smart.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fast and strong. So yeah, that nonsense, whoever wants to be a part of that can go right ahead and have it, because it's not happening.
The one who came up with it, they need to be out there in that 100. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So now that the buzz section is over, we have an esteemed special guest today. This young lady is an award-winning radio personality with over 30 years plus career in radio in 4 different markets: Detroit, Birmingham, St. Louis, and right here in Memphis. She's a skilled interviewer of celebrities, influencers, such as Kirk Whalum, Stedman Graham, Sarah Butler. She's an actress, screenwriter, director, and background performer with credits in film, TV, and radio commercials. Co-writer of the 2010 independent film Insecure, which was released by the 20th Century Fox, that I did see. Executive producer of a spoken word album, From My Heart, the collection of inspirational thoughts, in 2007. And she's also the founder of Christie Taylor Consulting, specializing in media and public speaking, coaching, and script polishing. So introducing to many and to all our guest, Christie Taylor.
Ooh, wow. Yes. That's
you
a lot. You
sound great on paper, girl.
I sound amazing. And JD, Erica, thank you all so much for allowing me to be here today. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
We're glad to have you. So
I don't think you missed anything in the intro other than D.C. born and Tipton County raised and graduated from Militant Central High School. Go Trojans. So other than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you born in the DMV.
Yeah.
I got family up there.
Yeah. I got some kinfolk still in the Maryland area and some in D.C.
Okay.
But of course, family came from Mississippi, settled in the West Tennessee, Tipton County near Covington. Eventually, when my mom moved us back south, we lived in Tipton County, Jamestown, Burleson, got to represent. And then eventually we moved into the Woodstock-Millington area. So I went to Woodstock for a couple of years and then went to Militant Central High School.
Okay.
It was all about music, all about, by my 11th and 12th grade year, you'll find out that I actually had an aspiration for Broadway. So I was in concert choir, doing All-State, All-West. Actually, my very first time being in a newspaper was because me and 2 other choir members, we were part of the All-State, All-West, choirs, honor choirs. And then I went to Oral Roberts University to actually major in music.
Okay.
And it was while I was at ORU that I actually found my way, or I should say radio found me. Radio found me. So that's how my creative journey started, really from the music, loving words, loving spelling bees when I was a little girl. Just my fascination with words and stories and writing songs and poetry. You did speak about my poetry album, which of course came later. Just always wanting to be able to communicate. And I was very, 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 very quiet. So it was through poetry and songs and singing that I found my voice and eventually became a communicator, a master communicator that now also helps other people. And I think I have a unique knack for it because I was quiet, and I know oftentimes the things you have to overcome.
Yeah.
Being an introvert?
Yeah, being and I'm still an introvert, who's developed an extrovert persona.
Okay.
But the little girl in me, she's still alive and well, honey.
Okay.
She's alive and well. And so, I'm really excited to be able to share. And it's interesting, and thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this because it's been very interesting to do press.
Yeah.
To talk about myself in a way, oftentimes I was on the other end interviewing others. So I appreciate you all giving me this opportunity to talk about Christie. Not Christie Taylor, but Christie. Just her.
No doubt. Well,
Let people know Christie.
Yes, just get to know Christie.
You definitely fit the bill as a Renaissance woman with all that you've done and accomplished. So we're going to get right into it. I wanted to ask you, how was your journey as a 30-year radio personality, a.k.a. radio girl?
Come on now. That's my superpower. First of all, it wasn't a straight line. And because of the fact that I initially wanted to do music, and when I went away to school as a music major, attending Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Christian school that definitely was focused on gospel music, and toured with Souls of Fire Singers, which was a group and choir started by Carlton Pearson, the late, great Carlton Pearson. Had cousins from St. Louis who had been a part of the group. And so when I got there, that was the path. However, while I was on the road touring, because we would take our summer breaks and fall breaks, going to churches throughout the country, and also being pulled out of class to be on the TV show, the Richard Roberts show, that was formerly the Oral Roberts show. And it was training me. And mind you, I'm like 17, 18, 19 years of age, very, very young, coming from Tipton County and Woodstock, Millington, so it was a culture shock from a lot of different perspectives, but being able to be groomed and then developing certain disciplines. So once I made it to Detroit, hanging out, because I ain't gonna lie, I dropped out of school, hanging out with my gospel friends. And at the time, BB and CC Winans was hot on the radio. Winans was hot. Well, actually, BB and CC were just getting started in their career. Commission, which of course is a group Fred Hamm and them. So I was kind of in that whole circle due to Margaret Bell, Vanessa Bell Armstrong's baby sister, who had been a TV singer on campus. So I got introduced to the Detroit gospel scene in my late teens, early 20s, and ended up hanging out. And I have to say hanging out because I, growing up in church, around singing and gospel and all the things, it's just like being in community choirs. You're just on the scene and not necessarily trying to accomplish anything specifically. You're just there. I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. But it was in Detroit, I will say, that also caused me to pivot, because that's when I learned that I didn't like the road. I didn't like being in the studio all the time, which is a requirement. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to have a gospel music career or a career period in music, you got to have the grind. But it was in Detroit that I reflected back to the classes that I took in radio and TV and, in communication, that I really preferred that over than being out front and on the scene all the time, and ended up with a secretarial job at a station in Detroit that really caused me to commit to radio. Yeah. Wow. I know, honey, it's a lot of look, and I'm giving you all a cliff notes.
So what you're basically saying is you were along this path and you had to take a series of detours.
Honey, okay.
Yes.
A lot of, and even now, once I started committing to okay, I'm gonna do radio, TV, and film. That became my mantra. After all these years of seeing if music was going to work for me. Now, of course, I still have friends and family, my brother included, who fully committed to the gospel music industry, the Christian music industry, and the music industry overall. But once I found my path in radio, it led me back to Memphis, honestly, because I was a sales assistant, which is basically a clerical support to the sales department for one of the top urban stations in Detroit. And I went into my sales boss's office. How do I get on the radio? I was too young to know not to do that. And I just, because I was like, I had a couple of years, where I had, on campus, had been on the radio after I had switched from music to communication. And everybody was afraid of him. And I think there's something to say about my naivete, is that oftentimes I'll go to the big bad wolf and ask for advice throughout my life and career. And he basically broke down the radio game. And Arrested Development had the song Tennessee out. And
Tennessee.
I remember that song.
Yes, Tennessee. And what happened was, he was like, Detroit is a top 10 market. You got to go to the lower markets. And I, at that time, in my early 20s, just thought he was talking geographically. I said, is Memphis a lower market? Because I'm coming from the Millington, Memphis area. And he was like, yeah. And I don't know if I took a bus, walked, caught a plane, a train, but I ended up back in Memphis and started my path of knocking on all the doors, trying to not just be a secretary, but how could I break into being on the air? And I regretted coming back because I went to everybody and everybody said no. And because I'm like 25, 26, no radio experience other than college and working in the office. And yet I'm trying to get on the mic. And let me tell you all, this last station, which is now Hot 107, but before it was a gospel station, they interviewed me. The woman was like, really like, oh yeah, you'll be a good fit here. And then I get a call from the program director. And he said, I just got your resume out the trash.
Oh.
He said, what exactly do you want to do? And I was happy and kind of like shook at the same time, because it's like, I thought it was a positive interview. So literally my radio career in Memphis came from somebody pulling my resume out of the trash.
And it was God.
God did that. Yes, he did. And I said, I'll do everything. I'll be on the air. I'll sweep. I'll be a receptionist. I want to be in the door. I want to be in the room. And I did. I did all those things at that station. It was a very and that's where I initially met Michael Adrian Davis and some other people. But and that became very key, because even when that station went belly up, because they had some financial problems and the checks started bouncing, I ended up getting a job being a secretary. The most creative thing I did for like 6 years, because I came back to Memphis around 92 and 93. So between 92 and I was on air for like a year. So by 93 to 1999, I was the most creative thing I did, y'all, was type memos and letters throughout different, because I temped forever because I kept saying I was going back to Detroit. But God would have it that me and Michael Davis ran into each other because he was out of radio for a long time too. And at some point, I'm going to try and shorten the story, between us running into each other, and he was saying there was a new station, AM station on the air. Did I want to come and do this? I was like, no, my checks don't bounce no more. So eventually, I think a year later, he reached out again, because we also had run into each other at a church, Greater Community Temple, Church of God in Christ in North Memphis. And he was like, well, they got a weekend position. I was like, okay, I'll do the weekend. And so May of 1999, I started doing early Saturday mornings and early Sunday mornings. And who knew for about a decade, I was like the queen of Sunday mornings on whatever station I was on. And I would just say, I really appreciate, the relationships. And even the lady who had interviewed me and had thrown my resume in the trash, and the other program director took it out, she ended up at that station. She says, do they even know who you are and all the things you can do? Because she, post the other station folding, ended up at, it was Clear Channel. Well, yeah, it was Clear Channel. They had just bought up all the stations. So I ended up on AM 990 The Light. And then I bounced to Bruce Demps, another person who oftentimes people didn't understand how to, work with him. I always just like, hey, Bruce, do you think I can do this or do this? And, I ended up being on 990 The Light from 1999 to like 2000, 2001. And then V101, doing Sunday morning, Rhythm and Praise. They let me program the show and everything. And then also, I think around 2001, I ended up being the local producer for the Tom Joyner Morning Show on V101. And then I got the itch, to want to do more, and found myself rejoining Michael Davis and Tracy Bethea and Dwayne Benton when they launched Hallelujah FM 95.7. And so December 2002, and most people don't know, here's trivia. because the station launched at the end of the year and I always did Sundays, I'm really the first voice to ever be on Hallelujah FM because I kicked it off on a Sunday, on that last Sunday of 2002. And then, of course, we all, the following week, was a reuniting of, because I had been on V for about over 2 years, and then 990 of the Light. So that's really how I progressed in radio, and Memphis has shown me so much love, and it's never been a straight line because then I left, had co-written a movie and, went back to school and all the things. So, I mean, I'm going to let y'all ask questions because, look, I got 40 plus years of this.
Well, I would say this before Erica asks her question. That epiphany moment, that resume being the garbage, it takes me back to a Jay-Z line in one of his songs that says, even a garbage can gets a steak eventually.
Ooh.
So,
yes.
I was listening to that the other day with everything I got going on in my life, and I was put my Jay-Z playlist on, and a particular song that he said that line in was playing, and I was like, so it just made me think of that when you said your resume was in the garbage and someone else picked it up out the garbage, because he says in that song, eventually even a garbage can gets a steak.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and so
definitely.
A
lot of people have never known that that's how close it came to me not doing radio. But I think in the sovereignty of God, let me not say that because I'm not going to limit God, but that's the journey. That's my story, And
we always, I have started to realize we all have a journey.
Yes.
And we follow so many different paths. We go through a whole lot of detours.
Yes, Lord.
And I didn't realize just how serious that word detours is. I don't think even when I did the stage play, I don't think I realized how serious that word is.
Right.
But it's a powerful word.
It is.
It's powerful just in being along that journey and watching God work to know it was in the trash can. Somebody pulled that out the trash can and look at where you are now.
Come on now. And it's so amazing that throughout the years, that person, passed away. And once I really hit my stride in radio, I wanted to go back and thank them, but they had passed away. So in the spirit, I just want to say thank you, all the things. Yeah.
So listen, with all this that you...
and by the way, his name is Paul Anthony, for those who know. Okay. Paul Anthony. He was a contemporary to Bobby O.J. Yeah.
Like the name kind of slightly sounds familiar too. So we've talked about radio, something that just really caught my eye in reading your bio, and I had to ask, as a public speaking coach, because I didn't know that you were one. As a public speaking coach, what advice would you give to someone looking to be a public speaker?
Speak. Simply speak. And that's the foundational part, because oftentimes when we say we want to be a public speaker, what we're putting pressure on is the public part.
Right.
And I always like to take it, and because I am that introvert who learned how to, come into it, is just do the work of, and what happens is you build upon it. Now, beyond the speaking and growing up in church, we started with those Easter speeches,
Oh, yeah.
And then, and then those Sunday school reviews for those who still do Sunday school reviews. And then also being able to, within the church environment, because that's where I cut my teeth, is when they give you that chance to do those Sunday night, Wednesday night Bible study, come bring a little word. That is part of the training. Now, for a lot of people who are like, well, I didn't grow up in church, or I'm not really that committed to it, then there's Toastmasters. There are opportunities even when you're doing now today's social media, like really utilize AI and come up with a 5-minute speech and practice doing that. But I also say, let's take it back to just the whole point of speak. Put yourself in environments where you can do that. But the preparation, I would say, is speak to yourself. I know now those who follow me on social media know I love affirmations. I love affirmations, and the affirmations literally changed my life and saved my life. So the first person you need to speak to is yourself.
Right.
The first person you need to really speak to is yourself. And it sounds counterproductive, but as a communication coach, the first thing I teach people, regardless if I'm teaching them how to speak publicly or online or in media, is self-talk, is a mindset shift. And if you're speaking first to yourself about what you want your end result to be, then once you get to the performance part of it, the preparation part of it, then you excel. But it's the self-talk, then the preparation, developing small speeches, practicing it in the mirror, old school style. You know, like we used to sing with the with the brushes in the mirror, do the same thing, practice so a lot of self-talk, a lot of internal dialogue. And this is literally what I teach people, because once you shift your mind, the platform and the people and the audience is irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing is just speak.
Like a calisthenic.
Exactly. Exactly. You work that
yeah.
muscle. And then when you, and I believe in the sovereignty of God, and I believe that, opportunities come when we're prepared. And when God sees that you're doing the foundational work, somebody will just off the cuff say, hey, can you come speak at my fill in the blank church, school, association, because you will just shift your energy toward that. Because the more that you do a thing, it just reverberates in the universe. I truly believe that. I mean,
I believe that.
So as you just begin to do the incremental steps, maybe once a day you get online, or once a week, and you have a minute, a moment with Erica, and you just deliver a speech. And if you ever want me to come and speak at your, now we got call to action.
Right.
I would love to. And then, of course, if you get into the whole technical part of poise and sitting and standing and how to develop your speech and all the technical aspects of it, yes, there's training for that. People like myself, I can also coach you. But the self-work, the internal, the first person you speak to is yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's my philosophy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's so much knowledge in there. Like, just like you can speak all day on radio, I can sit here and listen to you all day on just that and just write it all down, because I was that person with the low self-esteem and scared to speak out. And God started telling me to speak. He started putting me in situations where I had to speak.
Correct.
He started putting me in situations. I go back to school, and they're heavily at Belhaven into presentations and how you do presentations. Correct. So I'm like, okay.
And it's beautiful that you say that, Erica, because regardless if you're in a second grade or you're in your second stage of life, I believe, now this is kind of going, now y'all want to meet Christie Taylor. I believe in God from a very deep personal space, because I was a little girl when I accepted Jesus Christ, my personal Savior, palm baptized, and then when you go to another church, you get baptized in the baptism pool. But my relationship with God really is from the belief system that God really did create us like Him. God is forever expanding. There is never a point where God ends. He's infinite. So everything within us is the seed of who He is. So when He wants us to learn to speak, and this is probably because this has been my personal journey, it's because what's one of the first things that God did to show His creation is He spoke.
Yes. Yeah.
He spoke. It wasn't just rolling around in His mind. I believe that that's where it matured, like, I'm going to make something. But it didn't come into form until the spoken word. And I think that one of the greatest ways that God wants to show Himself in us is when He teaches us how to speak and how to control language and how to control the energy of our words, how to be more selective in what we say, because what we speak comes into being.
It does.
Yes.
There's so much truth in that. You've always heard it. Yeah. Speak life.
Speak
life. And death is in the power of the tongue.
And, Maya Angelou always used to, a powerful poet, author, speaker, all the things. But even in her relationships and when people would come to her house, they said there's this infamous story where someone came into her house speaking negative words, just casually. She put them out. She put them out because she had become such a wordsmith and a crafter of words. She understood what syllables meant, what punctuation. Every single thing is a creative force when you're speaking, and even mispronouncing word. All of that is actually being created in the universe. I mean, I truly believe that reverberation, because, for those who are in the music, that sound has frequency and all that. So when you become a powerful speaker, you're understanding you're not just calling words out, but you're crafting someone's reality, including your own, which is why I say speak to yourself first. And that's a powerful place, because even in my career, coming from a quiet child and introvert, and me having to learn how to find my voice and learn how to master words, I understood from a spiritual perspective and from an intuitive place, because we all know this. That's why when we get pushed forward, we're afraid and shaking and all like that, because there's a powerful part of ourselves. Like even doing podcasts, I got to laugh, because when I teach people about radio development classes for Tina Tilton's The Podcast Center, most people coming from online space and they want to get into radio. Mm-hmm. I always talk about radio is frequency. It's around the world, the transit, if you get into what is radio waves. But the internet is 0 and 1. Now, I know I'm a little nerdy too, y'all. Okay. But 0 and 1s, and this one gentleman is the internet. That's what coding it, all the things. This one gentleman who was in cybersecurity, retired. When I got to that part about, radio waves is what's circling the globe, and that we're basically riding off the transmission when we're on radio and television. But the internet is from 0 and 1s. For those who are deep into this, you know what I'm talking about. And he said, yeah, because 0 and 1s go into infinity. Mm-hmm. They go into the universe. They go into the solar system. And then I said, is that why the aliens are mad at us? Because all this bad content we're putting out here. But, the thing is that it's eternal information. So even the things that you're saying on your podcast, what you're talking about, is reverberating through sound on 0 and 1s that are being perpetuated even beyond the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, that's kind of nerdy and deep, but it's the truth. And, I like to be a very responsible communicator. Yeah, and speak life.
Life.
Yeah, definitely. Everything you said was definitely on point, because there is power in the tongue. Yeah. What you say, not just what you say, who you say it to and how you say it.
Mm-hmm. And motivation and why you say it.
Oh, yes.
To build or to break.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, now I know y'all got Christie Taylor on here today. I know I'm a little deep, one deep sister.
Love it.
Love it. What I want to ask you is, what was it like to co-write the 2010 independent film Insecure? Because like I said, I did see that movie, and when I first started talking with you, I didn't know that until you told me that you co-wrote that.
Yeah.
And that was filmed here in Memphis.
Right here in the 901. Wow. And we had a really nice cast. So for me, it was really good. I actually met Julius Lewis while in radio, because when I wasn't on air, my decompressing downtime was going to spend my Saturdays and Sundays and some Friday nights watching movies, preferably matinees. So that was Saturdays and Sundays. And I would always come back to the station the next week and we would talk about all the movies that I would watch. So he approached me and said that he had a script, wanted to see if I would read it, because I had taken some screenwriting classes in college. I was like, sure, and I'm talking about movies all the time. So I'm low-key a movie buff and an unlicensed movie critic. So I read the script, and I asked him, I said, did you write this for the stage? Because there is a difference, and I know you're an amazing playwright. There is a difference between being a playwright and a screenwriter, because the language and the way you shape the scenes and the descriptions will dictate if it's going to be on the stage or if it's going to be on the screen. And so he was like, yeah, I actually did write it for stage, because he was promoting, I think, stage plays and comedy shows and blues shows. So he said, can you help me turn it into a movie script? And so we took a couple of years, between our careers and his business. And it was a really fun opportunity to get, once again, the power of the words, learning how to craft words, learning how to put it on paper. And for those who I'm actually going to be teaching a screenwriting class on Saturday, May the 10th, depending on when this come out, in a series. That's going to be the kickoff to me starting to do some screenwriting intensives, because every creative words, how can I say this? When it comes to creative writing, the story dictates the medium, because sometimes we may have a story in our mind, but is it a song? Is it actually a poem? Is it a prose? Is it a book? Is it a stage play? Is it a TV show? Or is it a movie? The story dictates the medium. So once you really get into that part of it, then how do you craft a screenplay? And screenplays, honestly are the most technical of all of creative writing, of all creative writing. So it was really a fun experience. And then once it took a long time because, it's a journey and we're doing this independently. And a lot of Black people like, I think Ice Cube and Master P has started putting out independent films. So Julius decided to do it himself, fund it himself. And it was enough to spark me to leave my radio career and go back to school. When the movie came out. Yeah, when we shot the movie finally in 2008 and it came out in 2010, I had gone back to school by 2009. I was like, hey, I'm at an age and stage. I was in my 40s. I'm like, I've done the radio. No, I want to do the TV and film, because it was always radio, TV, and film. So, yeah, so that was a really good experience learning how to really master and develop characters. Now, of course, I did learn, in all disclosure, when it comes to the filmmaking aspect, when you bring the producers and the directors in, the screenwriter, we have the story with us. And even though it was his storyline, and of course we co-wrote, it becomes our baby. You already know. And when you have to release it to somebody else to interpret what you've done, it'd be like, oh, I didn't mean it to sound like that.
Yes.
So I have learned also, which is one reason why, even in this journey that I'm on, to move more into producing and directing. Yeah, because film is a director's medium.
Yeah, it was a good film.
Thank you.
I remember when it first came out, and you had Nephew Tommy and quite a few folks.
Essence Atkins was in it. Denise Boutte, Lamont Rucker,
I like
Tempest
Denise.
Bledsoe, Karen Ward, Elise Neal, our very own Elise Neal. I hope I'm not missing anybody.
As long as you didn't miss Lamont Rucker, you are doing a really good job. Okay.
Oh my God! Yeah, as long as we don't miss him.
And don't miss Denise Boutte and Elise Neal.
I know those two. Them two. Those two.
Those two as well.
Yeah. So, Tanya. Oh, she was a secretary. But anyway, yeah,
it was a great cast.
Yeah, it was a really great. And of course, the lead was someone who came from out of Tyler Perry's play circle. Oh my God, how can I forget his name in this moment? But he
played the lead character.
Yeah, he played the lead character.
Yeah, he was something else for himself.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was something else.
And I don't know what he's done
to do Lamont like that. That was
that part.
terrible.
I will say I was angry. I was like, no, Lamont don't need to die. But of course, it raised the stakes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what got me before we go on was that particular line that he told Nephew Tommy. I was like, well, that's like, oh man, ain't never that serious.
When I say I was co-writer on the original, so there were some friends like, did you? I'm like, nope, I didn't do that line.
I was like, man, he said what?
I know, that was a shocker. That was definitely a shocker. But one of the things, even in the because you all collaborate and you're bringing who you are to the story and to this experience as a podcast host. So sometimes you have the disclaimer, the words and opinions of.
Right.
That's JD. That's not Erica. But yes. JD over there like, okay.
Like, I'm not going to say a word.
No, I'm not going to say anything. It is what it is. But I get it. But like I said, it was a good movie. And when I found out that you did that, I was like, that's
impressive.
Yeah. I actually went back to school, like I said, after that. I went back and finished my degree in drama, TV, and film performance from ORU 20 plus years later and started working on a master's. And I'll never forget when I had gone to LA for a class and the teacher was talking about independent film. And we had released it. I'm in a program. It had made its money back. I think Julius had invested like $1 million in it, so very well, budgeted film. And it had made its money back. And the guy was like, the teacher, he was like, yeah, independent films don't make money. And I'm sitting in the class like, first of all, I hadn't told anyone I had written a script because I'm just coming in like a student, like I want to learn. And he was talking so bad about indie films. I had to raise my hand, y'all. Like, y'all might be in LA, baby, but Memphis, we
tell the people.
Okay, we made a film and made our money back. And to the point, but this is what he did on the spot because, at this time people were starting to use not projectors, when you can your laptop and cast it on the screen. What is it called? But anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And he literally, with his laptop on the screen, said, "What's the name of your movie?" And he went to IMDb and also something called boxofficemojo.com to look at our numbers. like to fact check me. And he was like, oh, yeah, but, if it's black films or horror. I was like, ooh.
This is what he said?
Yes, he did, y'all. I was like,
wow.
yeah, I low key, but I'm like, well, we did it. It made you. So yeah, Memphis. I want y'all to know that grit and did. But the grit and grind, the commitment that we have, and even now the Memphis film community and music community, we are still growing and learning and setting standards. Yeah,
it's the next big. It's rising because, of course, when you think of movies, entertainment, of course, in the South, you think of Atlanta first, and then you think of what goes down in New Orleans. But Memphis, it completes that. I guess I can say like a triumphant, because Memphis is rising on that now. So
it's rising, and it's really it's like a close knit family. Like when you start really getting in with the local people who are doing film, who are doing acting, who are doing the plays, they are a close knit family.
And I've really, haven't been in radio, music radio, and now moving to this film world. You are so right. If you come into it right, because people can kind of, in everything, in any business, but even within the film and music community, and in the last, I would say 5 years, there has been an increase, and I think it is motivated by the fact that more people can get into these spaces. Yes. And the more and plays and film are collaborations. Like now we know Tyler Perry writes, directs, and produces, right? He can even score, but he can't act all the characters. So you have to build a community that helps you get your dream and vision out. Like when she has a play, you have to cast some other people. Now, of course, yes, you can do a one-woman show and things of that nature, but just by the nature of the medium, it forces you to collaborate with other people. And the more you can collaborate, the greater your project. So I'm super excited about different people who are causing that, to happen, like Angela Green, who's over on Location Memphis, Princeton James, Echoes.
I love Princeton.
Yes, honey, Princeton James. And there are others, I don't want to get to name it, but y'all know who y'all are, and who have begun to create these circles and starting to collaborate among circles as well. I think that.
It's interesting with what we're discussing. It kind of like delve into my next question, some. But we can get more deep into that, because the next question was, what began your career as an actress?
Ooh, life. Honesty, that's vulnerability. Life be having you acting, and I say acting, acting, and I did purposely say acting. Yeah, life itself causes us to perform. And this is just, straight no chaser. But as a trained performer, I will say when I was in high school, I wanted to do Broadway. So I did some plays and church plays, and then also in high school. And then when I went to college, I think I did the James Baldwin Amen Corner one time. I was Pastor Margaret. But then, like I said, I started moving into that music and then eventually media. So I literally did kind of put it to the side, because it's like, oh, that's not going to be my path. But even when I came back to Memphis, there's an amazing playwright, Myra Moses. She used to have plays when we were at Greater Community Temple, and she ended up by Faith Ministries. Ekandayo Bandele, I met him back in the day in my my mid-20s when I came back from Detroit. We were over at the Memphis Black Arts Alliance, and he was starting to his plays, and I performed in that. And of course, he now owns Hadley Theater.
Right.
So I would find myself in and around the poetry scene, if I'm like, oh, come on, they would just like cast me and stuff like, hey, can you do something? That while I did not commit to the craft of acting, people just saw that gift in me, and I'm a natural performer, turns out. And so when I went back to school, I basically wanted to focus strictly on screenwriting. But one of my, the department head, she was like, the best directors and writers understand the craft of acting. I was like, She said the best directors, whether it was for theater, television, or film, and the best writers who write stage plays, TV shows, and movies, if they understand what the actor has to do to bring that to life, then you'll be better. And so I submitted to the acting path, and it truly did prove to me that, yes, I understand now if I ask an actor to not cry on screen, but to feel deeply about a loss, what it's going to take, the technique that's going to be required. So when I even write now, I'm more sensitive, like, hey, jump over that thing. But it's like, why? What's the motivation for an actor to jump off of a building onto a car? What's the motivation? Because I'm now writing with the actor's mind.
Right.
Yeah. So that's helped me a lot.
Okay, because when I saw your inspiring bio, I was like, the acting, the speaking, she's really doing it all. And I love for people to know what started that, because we're always like, okay, how can I officially get into this? Because my thing started with doing a little writing and then asking you, because you always seem to start in church.
Yes, honey. Churches, don't be sleeping on church. Now, specifically old school churches. I don't know about the new school churches may not have it as, how can I say it? I remember growing up in church back in the day when even if you just had a desire to sing, you could join the choir.
Right.
Now we have to have auditions.
Right.
So, what I'm saying? So sometime if I had that as a requirement, maybe I would not be in choir because my voice wasn't developed at 8, 9, 10 years old. You see what I'm saying? But giving, and like you said, if we were doing them Easter speeches, and even if you was messing up, and they said, go on, baby, go on. But, they encouraged you, they pushed you. Now sometimes we got to come ready in certain environments. So, but yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
So y'all get them children's churches, let them young folks sing and act even if they can't.
Use their gifts. Their gifts.
Let them develop. Let them develop.
Yeah, let them put all that energy when they be doing mischievous things,
Honestly,
put it to good use.
Crime prevention is linked to that. It really is. To the arts. It really is. Not only crime prevention, but also development of self-esteem, which is oftentimes linked to bad behavior. Giving them an opportunity to find out who they are comes when we create environments. So if it's not a structured church environment, maybe somebody after church can do something, but community, all like that. You got to have the village so that the creativity can come out of the children.
I always say it's two-pronged, two things, since I've worked in the schools before or whatnot, is either athletics or arts.
That's it.
Because somebody who may not be athletic may be artistic.
Correct.
Someone who may not be artistic may be athletic. Some people are blessed with both.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that outlet for the students, the children, to do something, then that energy is going to be put towards mischievous things.
That's true.
Exactly.
Because it's creative energy. You're going to create havoc, a hope.
Very true.
Yeah, we're creations. We are creations that were created to create. Yeah.
And you really said something, because it was being in that acting arena and acting, even though I've started to see that I love directing more than I love acting myself. I absolutely love it. Okay. But I do love getting out there and acting sometimes. Sometimes I kind of miss the bug. But I can say it definitely lifted my self-esteem.
Yeah.
So I use it to build up a lot of others. I have a lot of first-time actors that I've had in my plays, and they've proven to be there. Like, I never knew I could do this.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a gift to nurture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It takes a special gift. This is good. Y'all got any more questions for me?
Oh, yes.
He over there pondering.
Yeah. Oh, no. Erica got a question for you. And
Okay, so some may not know you are an author as well.
Yes.
Tell us about your book, Soul, Naked, and Deeply Affected, Poetically Speaking.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
That sounds kind of Erica Badu-ish. Right?
Yeah. So what had happened was, okay, I haven't had the joy, even from the South, to have been married or have children. But have I loved? Oh, my God, have I loved. And so there was this one gentleman, I'm going to call him a gentleman, even if that wasn't his, where I was inspired due to the experience. I ain't going to say entanglement. The experience, based upon the experience that I had with this amazing person, brilliant in their own right. But I was not accustomed to ghosting. Yeah, I had to find out that was such a okay. See what had happened was everybody doesn't know how to communicate when they're done. Understand what I'm saying? So as a result, I took the experience, all this, they woke in me, which is something I needed because I had gone through a situation where I was bone dry creatively. I hadn't been creative. I had just been doing work. Even though radio is a creative thing, sometimes you can get to the grind of just doing, but as an artist, as a creative, correct. And this person, their purpose in life was to open me back up to all the emotions of feeling love and feeling rejection. So that as an artist, they used to say that Stevie Wonder and certain people who are amazing songwriters would intentionally, and they think Taylor Swift does this too, that you almost really put yourself in relationships to prime the pump, including high octane relationships and bad breakups, because the best comes from the highs and the lows. So, that particular book of poems, which is a very simple, very raw book, it was just a collection of poetry that came as a result of that experience, that soul connection. And I was glad it happened because I was like, oh my God, there she is. There she is, so naked and unashamed. That's what sparked that.
The title even was just...
Yes, honey, so naked.
Yes,
baby,
I gotta know more.
Honestly, I don't even know if I ever told that person I wrote a poetry book. I need to let them know. I'm gonna need to. But then, what was that Janet Jackson song about? I bet you think this song is about you. I bet you think this song is. Yeah, but I almost don't want them to know because then that would probably gas them up even more. Oh yeah, like I impacted Christie Taylor to write poetry again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm a fellow author of 2 books. Erica's writing her first book.
Hold on one more second. I didn't bring up another short affirmation book that I wrote, which is Please Stop Hating Yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the So Naked was based on that, but also one time recently, I was, as you age, women of a certain age, men of a certain age, you just start having a need to feel relevant and connected. Because when you've been there, done that, you're like, what else is there? And I ended up writing a book of affirmations that also said, please stop hating yourself. And it just was things that I would speak to myself to get me past that point.
Where can people find this book at?
That particular one is on my website. Or they can just DM me. I'll give them information on that. But yeah, that's a very simple one that they can just download.
So a book of affirmations, that's great.
Yeah, just please stop hating yourself.
Yeah, that is a message that is needed for many people out here.
Yeah.
So you're on the CAP, and we always ask questions based on the acronym. When I created this I took the word CAP and brought out cultivate, accumulate, prosper. So the cultivate question is, with all your endeavors and accomplishments, how did you cultivate what is known as the brand of Christie Taylor?
Hard work, nose to the grind, a lot of self-motivation. I'm harder on myself than anyone could ever be.
Same way.
Yeah, I really am. So, and I have to temper my inner critic. Like, hey, girl, okay, we did it. But yeah, really, and it's based on my own motivation. One of my favorite things is I don't compete with anybody but myself. I mean, that is literally how I live my life. So I cultivated that by being competitive within. Yeah, so I'm consistently trying to stretch myself and best beat myself, be a better version of who I am. So hard work, focus, stick-to-itiveness, just nose to the grind kind of person.
I can relate to everything you said because I'm my hardest critic and I'm always pushing myself or thinking of ways to do something better, no matter what's going on in life.
Right.
Correct.
Because people have no idea.
Honey.
And it's like the show that used to come on VH1, Behind the Scenes.
Yes.
People have no idea what goes on behind the scenes.
Correct.
All they see is what you put in your stories or what you put out online. But if they only knew, like, man, I didn't know they was dealing with that and still doing that.
Like right now. we're all here experiencing both joys and trauma at the same time.
Yes.
Like literally right now while we're sitting here.
Yes.
And that's the part of, like the please stop hating yourself, because when I'm going through these evolutions and stretching, I could somewhere go sit down and be like, hey, I'm good. Like, this is it. Hey, I ain't got, but where's the joy in getting stuck?
Yeah.
But by me pushing comes the resistance and the contraction and the trauma, because what we're doing is we're trying to stretch ourselves out of where we've been, which creates the fallout.
Easiest thing to do is to give up.
Woo.
That's
and
the
I
easiest
refuse.
thing.
I refuse. That is the easiest, and I guess I'm here for hard. Yeah, I'm here for the hard. Yeah.
There's a poem that I have always loved by Robert. I think his name is Robert Frost, and Two was the birds in the yellow wood.
Oh, yes.
But the end of that, because I think of it anytime I think about detours, and he said, "But I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Because we want to take the easy route.
Yeah.
We want to take the route with the bells, with
and
the whistles, and
that's wave paved. Growing up in the country. Have you ever been to? I mean, I lived in the deep south. My grandfather, when we came from D.C., had a outhouse, a well, chickens, all the kind of stuff, dirt roads. Most people just like the expressway without potholes. Well, freshly lined, all the things, but to have to get off of, hit the dirt road, the gravel roads.
Gravel road. I know all about
Come on,
that.
crack, all that. And sometime your life will take you off of the well-paved road.
Yes.
And you got to be okay with it, because you say you want to get to a certain destination. And that's your prayer. That's your aim. That's your aspiration. And right now, I'm in a serious detour and redirection. I really thought this time right now, while I'm talking to you, I was going to be in a whole other state. But God was like, and here's the beautiful thing about it. Life can give you, I'll say it like this. When you are an effort and purpose-driven person, you can end up with a lot of possibilities that all look good. Hey, no, it's no lesser of the evils. It could be multiple good and great opportunities. And then you have to, all of them are good. I know what's behind all the doors. But then it's like, but which one is the best for me at this time?
Exactly.
And then that could be like, oh, okay, I want that one. And then oh, why did my car break down? Oh, why did I lose this job? Oh, why did my relationship just end? Because it's like, wait. It's like, why did everything? But what's that quote? Even when things are falling apart, things are falling into place. Because even when seemingly your prayer request is causing you to go through a dark or transformative time, the metamorphosis is happening, like you're breaking down like the pulp in the cocoon so that you can emerge as what you really ask for. That's what I have to have hope in. Like, even to this day, I was talking to a friend who's, we're all, and whatever's happening collectively on the planet right now, I think everybody is in a crucible. Like, we're all being squeezed by whatever this collective universal force is happening. And everybody is feeling it. And the thing is that I want all the goodness in me to come out. That's my hope, that, okay, this is breaking me. Yeah, I'm hurting. I want to cry, or I want to kick and scream, but I want the goodness in me to come out. Yeah. That's it.
Wow.
I know y'all. One Deep Sister, Radio Girl, all the things. Yeah.
All the things. And I can tell you, I am honestly inspired by all you have accomplished.
Wow.
All of it. So what would you say you have accumulated in your amazing career?
A life in full expression. I've accumulated, well, I wanted it to be wealth as far as money. I ain't gonna lie. I wanted a whole lot of money, y'all. I have accumulated a life of very rich experiences and connections that money really, I mean, and I hate that this is being recorded, because I don't want this to come back and like, Chrissy, you said, no, and I'm saying this from, I have accumulated some of the richest experiences and connections on this side of heaven, like that money could never compare to. Now, would I have wanted $1 million or $2 or 10 or 20 on top of that? Yes. But the relationships, the connections, that I've accumulated is why you all are even talking to me, because of everything I've built in my life came through connections and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's built a life that somebody wants to know about.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I still want that $50 million, God. I still want $1 million deals.
Me too.
And me 3. So, now, being a media savant and consultant, how has it allowed you to prosper?
I have been able to make a living. I have, you know, in even without the $1 million deals yet, I have been able to successfully make a living from my creativity. I've been able to pay for, you know, a life. And yeah, that's how I've prospered. You know, prospered through in a city that sometimes you can't live from your creativity. And I'm very, very aware of that I have been able to. So, and I've prospered in my mind to want more of this and to help others do it too. Yeah. I hope that, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm very esoteric. I know.
Okay. Well, we're about to go into our other segment of the show where we have a little fun.
Okay.
It's called Pick One. So I'm going to go first, and then Erica will give you hers. But my pick one is dealing with Black women media moguls. So,
oh, Lord. Okay. Where we going with this?
So I'm going to ask you.
JD?
I'm going to ask you, are you Oprah Winfrey or Kathy Hughes? If you had to pick one that influenced you.
Oh, my God.
It's not going to be easy, but you, yeah.
Okay. Am I Oprah Winfrey or Kathy Hughes?
No, which one would you pick?
That's what I'm saying. Between those two.
Yeah.
Because I admire them both.
I figured you would.
Wee. Yeah, you get me. Oh, wee. Oprah is an easy answer. Which one would I be, or which one would I pick?
Which one would you pick that most influenced you overall?
Okay.
Even though you admire both.
Oh, I deeply admire them both. Y'all look them up. Do studies on them. Oprah Winfrey and Kathy Hughes. I will say, though, from the earliest years when I first got into media, it was Oprah. Oprah was that Southern, brown-skinned, heavy-set woman from the South who made good. I mean, that's, you know, so from just a mirror to mirror and to know her journey and her stories from a very emotional place, also mirrored a lot. It would be later in life that I learned about Kathy Hughes. And I admired her business acumen, which I now aspire to. But yeah, Oprah. Yeah, Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So.
Okay.
Here's mine. And this is fun. So we've talked a little bit about one of the people. So pick one. Tyler Perry. That's number one. Or number two, someone, I can't say up and coming because he's had a lot of great things, including the $1 million run of the past couple of weekends.
Oh, my goodness. I knew you was going to do this. I know you, Ryan Coogler.
Yes, ma'am.
Look, I got to go with Ryan Coogler. All the love to Tyler, to Ava DuVernay, all of them. But Ryan Coogler, now Ava DuVernay, if you had said Ava DuVernay and Ryan Coogler, but Ryan Coogler, because this young man is showing sheer mastery from every aspect of storytelling. And Sinners, I have not done it the 10 times that most people have. However, it is, oh my goodness, as I'm moving into film directing, to see what he's done and to understand more about the process, he's a master.
He is.
And he's just now 30-something? Has he even hit his 30s? I think he's early 30s now. I think he's early 30s. But he is Tyler Perry definitely has shown us how to get it out the dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like how to, against the critics, against, the naysayers, how to stay true to your vision and your message and your audience, and how to take and leverage what you do on the stage to the screen, and how he made $100 million. I mean, he shows us that. But from a creative space, Ryan Coogler, day by day, is just showing us the mastery of cinema. Like, he just shot this in 2 different formats. He literally he's mastering the craft of cinema and creating a new one. He's doing what George Lucas did. He's doing what Steven Spielberg did. He's basically like, as he said, he's a friend of Christopher Nolan, who constantly shapes and breaks cinema. So if you understand cinema from a trained perspective, Ryan Coogler is a master. He has already reached mastery.
Yeah. That was actually my choice too, because when I thought about what he did with Sinners, and then I saw a post one day that said, "What is your favorite movie? Fruitvale, Creed, Black Panthers,
Wakanda,
or Sinners," and I'm sitting there like, how can I even
choose? Yeah,
because
because I fell in love with him with Fruitvale.
I remember seeing when that first came out. It was based off a true story. Yeah. And then, because him and Michael B. Jordan, they worked together. They worked together like Spike and Denzel.
Yes.
So, but then when they did Creed, because I'm a boxing movie fanatic, and I love the Creed series, because growing up, I used to watch the Rocky series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And but Creed is, I mean, I like the whole franchise. Yeah. And then of course with Black Panther.
Oh yeah.
But when I went and saw Sinners the other weekend, and I'm like, man, this cat is he's doing it. It wasn't overhyped like people trying.
No,
I mean, it was
a solid story.
Yeah, and some people kind of went off the grid because of the vampire element, but when you realize the metaphor, what it stood for, it made sense. You know, even if you're not a horror movie person,
correct.
It was it's what it represented.
Correct.
And so
which is part of, as a storyteller, I'm gonna go ahead.
It was interesting for me because he talked about it, so I said, okay, I think I want to see this, and I had to look at the trailer a little bit more because I'm like, can I go see this by myself?
Because I can't take horror. I don't either.
And so it was like, okay, it seems like a lot. I don't know, but it seems like it's going to be a message behind this.
Right, which of course.
That's what got me to want to go see it.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I can't do horror, can't do slasher. Don't give me no Damon. I can't take the head spinning around. And I will take a fantasy movie like werewolves, but I'm not really into that because unless you're going to do a classic, storytelling with vampires, I'm like, but his storyline is so layered. That's why people are literally studying it and making syllabus and courses already, because the layers. And this is his first original work. And now you all going to probably talk about it, but like this weekend, I mean, I'm going into my filmmaking director era. I've written scripts, people have produced them, but when you do your own original story and you tell it from your perspective as a film director, it is all you. And so I'm thinking, as much success as he had, commercial and critically, he was like, he had to now or never direct his first original work, because if not, he was going to become a prison to the studio system, really. And for it to come out like this, with this much these many layers, creating a new genre. He did create a new genre.
He did that.
He created a new genre, y'all.
Because all his other films, which were great. Like I said, because I'm a big fan of the Creed series, that was a spinoff from Rocky.
Correct.
Fruitvale Station was about what happened.
A real story.
A real story that happened.
And of course, Marvel.
And Black Panther was off of Marvel
Universe. Exactly.
Yeah,
which I love. I love Marvel Universe.
So he, man.
But to come out like this and create, I mean, him and Jordan Peele, but of course, Hollywood is small, just like if the four of us get together and we talk about what we're going to do, what I'm saying? We influence each other. So him even, and I like the stories that he's telling about some of the inspiration from family, from, the Southern influence that he had from that.
Clarksdale, which is right up the street from Memphis.
Yeah, exactly. And y'all know we got the Memphis connection with the music. Boo Mitchell and them took him on the tour of the Delta along with the his friend who was a composer that he's known since college. They literally, Boo Mitchell took them throughout the Delta. Yeah, so heavily influenced by the Memphis and Delta music.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we go. Before we move on to our next segment, we want everyone that's viewing right now that link at below the screen. Click on that. Subscribe. Definitely do that. We definitely appreciate your support. And tell others about it, but definitely subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And also, if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer on the banana peel, send it to that email address below. And what is that email address, Erica?
That is the cappodcast3@gmail.com.
The cappodcast3@gmail.com. So without further ado, the next segment is the banana peel. And today we have a banana peel that was emailed to us by a young lady from Oklahoma City, Monet. So let's get off into it. She says, "Hello, JD and Erica. I'm a 30-year-old successful paralegal with my own life. My daddy is my heart, always been a daddy's girl. He and my mom have been divorced for over 10 years. He is dating again. That is not the problem. But what is she is 3 years older than me. My dad is 54 years old. Why can't he date someone closer to his age rather than mine? He wants to take both of us out to dinner to get acquainted. I don't want to. Am I wrong for feeling like this?" And once again, this is Monet from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So, Eric, I'm going to let you give your take. I give mine after yours, and we'll let our esteemed guest give her take on it.
Monet. Listen, I feel you. My dad isn't living anymore, but to be in this type of position, that can be hard. And no, you're not wrong for feeling this way. This is like one of those things where I would say it would be good to have a discussion with your dad and letting him know how you feel before you decide to go on this dinner, because I can understand from your viewpoint. I mean, this is somebody who would be considered like a big sister rather than like a possible stepmom. That's like a big sister, but it might help in you guys talking and understanding from where his mind is, because that's a very serious thing. It's a lot of age gaps. Let him know what route you're looking at and what lens you are looking from someone who is coming from your age group and how that looks, because it may be some things that he hasn't even really thought about. Because I don't know, because you haven't said how much dating he has done,
right?
Since he's been divorced. So he could be lonely. We all have desires to have a good companion, someone that we can spend time with. And I know me, myself, I love spending time really with someone my own age, because we can relate to a lot of things. When it comes to someone who is younger than me, you might can have fun, you might can have a lot of great things, but I mean, if you really want to know the truth, sometimes what it equates to is some men are thinking with the wrong part. If you can understand, and I'm sure you can, they're thinking with the wrong part. So maybe having a conversation with him, it can possibly help him to see where you're coming from and looking at the long haul, especially, is this someone that you can truly see yourself spending the rest of your life with?
Okay. Well, Monet, first of all, since you from Oklahoma City, serves you right since y'all beat Memphis. But no, seriously,
He
seriously,
didn't, but he did.
seriously, hey, daddy got to have a life too. You know, I get it because I can only, I couldn't imagine if this was me on this end, and it was my mother, and it was a guy that was 3 years older than me. I know I would probably say something to my mom, but what can you do? They're grown. They're your parents.
This is true.
You know, I definitely want to have a talk with whoever he was because it's like, hey man, you know, that's mama. But your dad, you know, he's been divorced from your mom for 10 years. You know, I know that's a 21-year age difference because she's 33, he's 54. Hey, you know, just one of those things where after you talk to him to express your opinion and your feelings, then you hear from him on how he feels and then at least be willing to go to dinner with your dad and her. I know this is kind of like one of my favorite shows of all time, A Different World, when Whitley Gilbert had to go out with her dad and her dad's new girlfriend who was younger. But you know, if she makes him happy and you can use your woman intuition and you can sense that she has good intentions towards your father, then you just gotta let him, you know, live his life. Because if it was the other way around and you was dating someone that was close to 50 that you was into, he might not feel that great about it, but you know, it's gonna be your decision. He couldn't dictate to you, you know, what you can and cannot do now that you're grown. So you got to take that same perspective with that. But I understand, you know, and you being a daddy's girl, you feeling like this, you know, what is going on with her or whatnot. And even though Erica said what she said, yeah, that happens sometimes. It happens both ways.
True.
But you know, it may be more to it than that. Right. Now I'm sure that's a part of it. I'm not gonna sit and sugarcoat nothing, but it's probably more to it than that. Just besides just that within itself. But yeah, like I said, once you talk to him, but look from that point of view and not just from the point of view of being daddy's girl and who's this chick that's 3 years older than me talking to my daddy or whatnot. Because you know, daddy gotta have a life too. You know. So we're gonna let our guest Christie give her take on it.
I'm ready.
This is
juicy.
Yes, it is. First of all, I think let's first acknowledge, like a good therapist would, you are entitled to your feelings.
Absolutely.
You are entitled to how you feel, but you're not entitled to dictate your father's life. And with that being said, both JD and Erica have spoken definitely on the polarity of it. And I do believe, you know, Erica brought up the potential of him using another head to discuss this. But I will say that if he was just having fun, he wouldn't introduce her. So I think that, number one, you're entitled to your feelings. Number two, you cannot, as a result, even being a daddy's girl, dictate your father's life. And number three, I think it would behoove you to learn about her and meet her sooner than later so that you can honestly assess who she is. Go to the dinner with a very open mind, Mona, and let your father know that you are going to be, as he would, be very inquisitive. You let them know that this is not going to be an antagonistic dinner, but you are going to ask, I would suggest, some hard questions and find out what kind of woman is she. Is she a mature 33-year-old, 34-year-old? Does she have children? Has she been divorced? You know, like, what's her life? What's her life path? What does she do for a living? Like, really find out what type of woman she is. Because your father could be a very, 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 very young 54-year-old, and they might be equally matched. You know, so I think, number one, you're entitled to your feelings, but you cannot dictate your father's life. Number two, meet her sooner than later, and trust that if he's introducing her, it's more than a fling. So take it seriously.
That's good.
Great advice from our guest Christie and Monet.
And I say this because it's like I date younger. I date older and younger, so you can't dictate people's lives. Yes,
That's true.
So there you have it. So therefore, Monet, you heard all three of us give our take on it. But yeah, you gotta go in there with an open mind, and once again, like I said, Daddy gotta have a life too.
Yes, he does.
You know,
He does.
He does.
So but go see before you just write it off, or don't go with being rude or standoffish and all that, because women pick up on that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So and hopefully all that'll work out.
She wants her daddy happy too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
She wants her daddy happy, and you want to be able to vet the women sooner than later. Yeah.
So there you have it. So now we're at the point of our show where we've had a great show today.
Thank y'all.
Thank you for coming on, Christie.
Thank
So we
you.
want to give you a chance to let all our viewers
Okay.
and listeners know how they can reach you, what your new projects you got upcoming, and all of that, all your social media handles, all of that good stuff. Have at it.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you all so very much, JD and Erica, for having me here on the CAP podcast. I got captivated. I hope I ain't saying nothing I'm going to regret later on in the rewatch. Ooh. But seriously, I thank you all for letting me be here as a guest. And for those who are watching who love CAP podcast, you all can follow me, Christie Taylor, on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as well as, I deactivated Twitter, but Christie Taylor Online. That's CHRISTIE Taylor Online. That's on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. But also, if you want to learn more about me as the consultant, you can also follow me on my social media pages at Christie Taylor Consulting, plus my website, ChristieTaylorConsulting.com. But if you just want to hang out with me, go to Christie Taylor Online. And thank you all so much for having this conversation, because I have now entered into the film directing, and we are on Sunday, May the 4th at Malco Cordova. We had an amazing screening of my short film, The Coffee Shop, which is now available for rental. You can now rent The Coffee Shop and go to onlocationmemphis.org. So that's The Coffee Shop, a short film produced by On Location Memphis's Memphis Movie Production, and you can now watch and get the rental at onlocationmemphis.org.
Okay.
Amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. So now we're going to the segment of the show where we have the Detour Moment by Erica.
Yes. Before I begin with the detour moment for today, let me let you guys know that if you would like to book me for any speaking engagements for at your college, at your for corporate events, for conferences, I am available, and you can book me at www.ericadjackson.com. You can also find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can email me at Ephesians6pro@gmail.com. Be on the lookout every Monday for Manifest Mondays on my YouTube channel. So we will be coming back with Manifest Mondays, our weekly motivation. And coming up later this year, Manifest Conference, the 4th Manifest Conference, my business conference, will be August 9th, and vendor spots are available as we speak. So let's get into this Detours moment. As you guys know, I have a stage play that I have written called Detours. And when I did Detours 1, about a prodigal daughter with a touch of the whiz, I was looking for a song that talked about being broken. So many of us are in a state of brokenness, and it's sometimes when God gets us to this point that we're able to grow. We're able to see what it is He has been doing. It's almost like your Damascus Road experience. And this particular song that I found that spoke to this was actually called Broken by Shekinah Glory. And the song said, "Got you just like I want you. Got you just how I need you. Welcome back to the way it used to be when it was just you and me." So it's like God is speaking to you right in this moment, right when you're going through your detour, right when you're going through your brokenness, and He's letting you know, this is exactly where I wanted to get you to. Because once you can get through this brokenness, you can definitely reach your destination. So at this point in your brokenness, at this point when you're going through your detours, let God minister to you. Listen to that song. It's called Broken by Shekinah Glory Ministries, and let God minister to you right where you are to get you to your destination.
And that was great. That's very inspiring, Erica. Before I get to the brain drop moment, that link below right there, if you need a speaker for your panel, anything of such show, anything that you got going on, you can reach me at Linktree/Jerry Davis, Linktree/Jerry Davis, or you can email me at author, like a book author, jdavis@gmail.com. I'm glad to come and be a speaker, be on the panel, be a host. Definitely get at your guy about that. Like I tell you, I'm not a pastor or a politician, but I have something to say. Now for the brain drop moment. You can't go if you never leave. Let me say it again. You can't go if you never leave. You can't go to healing if you never leave hurt. You can't go to peace if you never leave chaos. You can't go if you never leave. People always want to go somewhere where they feel good, where things are happening that's positive, but the only way you can go to that is you have to leave where you're at. You can't go to prosperity if you never leave poverty. You can't go to purpose if you never leave complacency. You have to leave from somewhere in order to go to the next level, to go to where God has you. And I know sometimes it sounds easier said than done, but at this point in life, if you're a grown man or grown woman, nothing's going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. So, so you have to have that mindset. You have to have faith in the Most High. You have to also believe in yourself that you can do it. And regardless of what's going on in life, good, bad, or indifferent, you can't go if you never leave. So if you want to go to that next level, you got to leave from where you at. Even if that means whether family understands, friends, significant others, whoever, it's part of the process.
That's good.
That's good. That's real good.
We have had a great show today. We want to thank you again, Christie, for coming on here.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to that movie of yours and everything else, and some future coffee shop. Future collaborations that we spoke about already. And before we leave the show today, something I always leave with all the listeners. If you're going to be anything in life, be for real. This is JD.
And this is Erica J.
Let's get captivated. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.